Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. Today, we're bringing you a story that's as shocking as it is terrifying. The case of the infamous Maniac of the Park. Get ready, because this story is full of twists and chilling details that will keep you hooked until the very last second. So, without further ado, let's dive in. All right, imagine this. A charming guy in São Paulo stops you on the street. He's polite, says you've got the perfect look to be a model, and offers you a chance to change your life. Sounds like a dream, right? Now imagine that dream turning into your worst nightmare. This is the story of the Maníaco do Parque, a man who used charm to lure his victims into terror. Stick around, because this isn't just a story, it's a warning. Let's talk about the guy behind it all. Francisco de Assis Pereira. To most people, he was just a regular moto boy. Quiet, polite, always on the move. But underneath that calm face was something much darker. A predator in plain sight. And the scariest part? Nobody saw it coming. Francisco didn't use threats or force to lure his victims. Nope, this guy used words. Smooth, convincing words. He'd tell women he was a photographer, scouting for models. And you know what's crazy? He had fake business cards and everything. He made it all look so real. That's how he earned their trust. Picture this. A young woman with dreams of being a model hears, "You've got the perfect look." She's excited, hopeful. Francisco promised professional photos, maybe even fame. But instead of a studio, he led them to an isolated park. You know where this is going, right? Chilling, isn't it? Now, let me paint you a picture. Parque do Estado, a huge, quiet area on the edge of São Paulo. Beautiful during the day, but at night, dark, lonely, and terrifying. This is where Francisco brought his victims. It wasn't just a park, it was his hunting ground. Here's where it gets even scarier. By the time the women realized something was wrong, it was too late. Francisco would turn from charming to deadly in seconds. He didn't just betray their trust, he destroyed it. Francisco didn't target just anyone. His victims were often young women with dreams, women who trusted him to help them. And that's what makes this so terrifying. It could have been anyone, a friend, a sister, even you. Once in the park, Francisco showed his true self. He'd attack, overpower, and take their lives. The way he operated was cold, calculated. He knew exactly what he was doing, and that's what made him so dangerous. By the time the police realized they had a serial killer on their hands, the city was in chaos. Women were scared to walk alone. Parks emptied out. And the name Maníaco do Parque was on everyone's lips. People were terrified, and who could blame them? Here's what's wild. Francisco had a whole other life. He went to work, talked to neighbors, acted like a normal guy. No one suspected a thing. That's what makes predators like him so dangerous. They blend in. They could be anyone. The fake photographer act was genius. Evil, but genius. Francisco even carried a camera to make it more believable. Imagine trusting someone because they look professional, only to find out it was all a setup. Chilling, right? Francisco wasn't just a one-time killer. Over time, the number of victims grew. 11 women were confirmed, but many believed there were more. His crimes weren't just brutal, they were systematic. Finally, the police started connecting the dots. Missing women, all last seen with a mysterious photographer. But tracking Francisco wasn't easy. He knew how to cover his tracks, how to disappear. Here's the twist that turned the case around. A survivor. One woman managed to escape Francisco's trap and lived to tell her story. She gave the police a detailed description, and suddenly, they had a face to hunt. Once Francisco's face hit the news, São Paulo went on high alert. Tips poured in, and everyone was looking over their shoulder. The hunt was on, but Francisco, he was already planning his next move. When the pressure got too hot, Francisco ran. He didn't just leave São Paulo, he left the state. For weeks, he stayed ahead of the police, moving from place to place. But no one can run forever. Em 1998, Francisco foi finalmente preso no sul do Brasil. When they arrested him, he didn't look like a monster. He looked like a regular guy. And that's what made it even more terrifying. When Francisco started talking, the details were horrifying. He admitted to killing 11 women, describing each crime with chilling detail. It wasn't just a confession. It was a glimpse into the mind of a monster. Francisco's trial was one of the most talked about in Brazil. People packed the courtroom, desperate to see the man behind the crimes. And Francisco, he showed no remorse, no guilt, just cold indifference. In the end, Francisco was sentenced to over 200 years in prison. But for many, that wasn't enough. No sentence could erase the pain he caused, the lives he destroyed. For the survivors and the families of the victims, the pain didn't end with Francisco's arrest. They lived with the trauma, the loss, the questions that would never be answered. Parque do Estado will never be the same. Even today, people avoid it at night. It's not just a park, it's a reminder of the terror Francisco brought to São Paulo. The Maníaco do Parque case dominated headlines, newspapers, TV shows. Everyone wanted to cover it. But with the attention came sensationalism, and some began to question if the media was glorifying the monster. Experts called Francisco a classic psychopath, charming, manipulative, and completely without empathy. He didn't see his victims as people. To him, they were just opportunities. Even now, decades later, the name Maníaco do Parque sends chills down spines. His story isn't just about the crimes, it's about the fear he left behind. How many victims were there really? Could Francisco have been stopped earlier? These are the questions that still haunt the case. Questions we may never get answers to. The scariest part of this story, Francisco didn't look like a killer. He looked normal, even friendly. It's a reminder that predators can be anyone, anywhere. Francisco's crimes changed the city. Women became more cautious, people trusted less, and the parks lost their charm. It was a wound that took years to heal. Some stories about Francisco became myths, embellished details, exaggerated numbers. But the truth is horrifying enough. Let's not forget the victims. They were daughters, sisters, friends. They had dreams, hopes, lives ahead of them. This story isn't just about Francisco, it's about them. What can we learn from this? Trust your instincts, be cautious, and never ignore the warning signs. Predators thrive on trust. Don't give it away too easily. Francisco may be behind bars, but his story is a dark reminder of the evil that can hide behind a smile. It's a story we need to tell, not to scare, but to stay vigilant. Even now, people are fascinated by the Maníaco do Parque. Documentaries, books, YouTube videos, it's a story that refuses to fade. But why are we so drawn to it? For the families, the survivors, and the city, the memory of Francisco's crimes isn't just a story, it's a scar, a shadow that lingers long after the headlines fade. So, what do you think? Is this a story of justice or a reminder of the evil that still lurks? The Maníaco do Parque is more than just a name. It's a warning to never let your guard down. Hey everyone, I hope this video brought you something interesting or important. Here on our channel, we post new videos every day, created with care to keep you informed and entertained. So, if you can, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, leave a like to support us, and share your suggestions in the comments. We read everything and love creating the content you ask for. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.